What we are talking today is an introduction of a new product, which is essentially a pipe locator, a water pipe locator, and at the same time a water leak detector. So the entire system allows you to detect water pipes, but it can also be used to detect water leaks. The receiver itself is based around a processing unit that is a 7-inch tablet. It's a touch screen, high definition color with a very nice and easy to use interface. It provides you with a spectrum analysis of the sound that is recorded, and also gives you bandpass filters, so you can narrow down to your frequency of concern and filter out unwanted noise. And I will say a bit more later on. You can record and store sound waves, so you can record what you're listening to. It's got a standard audio jack, so if you don't want to use the headsets that are part of the kit and you want to use a more sophisticated, maybe noise cancelling earphones, you can do it. Just plug the cable in the socket. It's not Bluetooth, so you need to have a cable to attach to it. And it also has a standard USB Type-C connection, so that will allow you to retrieve the sound recordings. If you do any sound recording, also allow the user to retrieve images. There is a mode of operation where you can take a number of points. I'll go through a bit more details later, but you can take a snapshot of your screen at that point, and you can incorporate it into a report. Before I start talking about this, just a few words about water pipes. Water pipes comes in many different materials. So some are plastics. In fact, most of them nowadays are plastics, but there is still space for some metal, cast iron pipes, whatever. Could be concrete. The materials are many, and detecting them is always a challenge. If they're plastic, or if they are not metal, then it becomes even more challenging, because you cannot use a traditional EM locator. So with a traditional radio detection locator, you can attach a transmitter to the pipe, send with a clamp, send a signal, and then you would be able to trace it and locate it. But if it's not metal, then it becomes much more difficult. You need to use at that point a tracer wire, if it's there and if it's not broken, or the only other alternative you have with an EM locator is to use a push rod with a sound at the end of it. So essentially you send a transmitting beacon inside the water pipe. So if the water is in use, so if the pipe is in use, if it does have water, the locating part of the system works adding a beacon to the water pipe. So what does it mean, adding a beacon? I'm talking about adding essentially a signal that can travel through the pipe, and it can be listened to using the ground microphone that is part of that kit, which I just showed you earlier. And I'll go back to it, don't worry, I'll point it back. So let's talk about how to create the beacon. So we use the pulse water transmitter that is essentially, it sits in the shelf of a standard radio detection transmitter, so it's still a transmitter. It connects to a valve using a cable, using a lead. And this valve opens and closes very, very quickly. And what it does, it lets water out at a regular interval. So that change of pressure travels across the pipe, and traveling across the pipe, cause the pipes to vibrate slightly. And that vibration is what you are listening to. So you are listening to this pressure change that travels across the pipe, and you can listen it to using the new RD510. So let me show you this video. There is a little video here, and a word of caution, because I wanted to show you the water coming out, I removed the exhaust. So you normally would have an exhaust pipe that takes the excess water, the water that's wasted essentially, and you route this pipe to a manhole or to an area where you can lose the water, you know, in a safe manner. So let me show you this video very quickly. So you can see the water just coming out. So this is it. This is the beacon that is generated, and this beacon travels through the pipe and across the entire pipe system. A range, I think the range will change depending on the pipe material, the pressure, and other things. But my understanding is that you can go up to 45 meters quite easily, assuming that the pressure is a standard 3 to 7 bar pressure. Is there a minimum pressure value that I can give you? I'll be honest, I don't know if there is a minimum pressure. The only sense I can tell you is you need to have water, the system needs to be full, and there needs to be some pressure. I assume that the bigger the pressure, the further the pressure wave will travel. A question I had this morning, can this be used with other liquids? I imagine yes. If you can hear it, then you can locate it. However, if you are talking about locating a gas pipe or locating an oil pipe, and especially if you're looking for leaks, really this instrument is not safe to use. You should be looking at different equipment that are explosion proof. So in a short answer, could it be used? I assume so, but no, please don't use it for other applications. So we are now connected to a pipe, and there is this. Oh, sorry, I should add. The system comes with a hose connection kit, so that is the most common connections you can get. But otherwise, whoever is going to use this kind of equipment will have their own connection kits, I imagine, with them at all time, because that is the nature of the job they're going to do. And let me show you. The next slide becomes a bit more obvious. So first of all, a word about the system then. The system is, let me repeat, you have a ground microphone that is this sensor that you see here is quite big, is quite chunky, with sides count sensitivity. Is incredibly sensitive. You can go down to 5 meters quite effectively. Of course, as with everything in life, it would be nice if everything was ideal. The depths will change depending on the pipe, and depending on the ground condition, and depending what is on the surface as well. But I've been told that you can easily listen to this down to 5 meters, and I have to say it's incredibly sensitive. So you have a 7-inch display with touch screen control. You have independent gain and independent volume. You can change the gain or the signal that gets into the unit. So if you have a very small signal, you can increase that signal coming into the amplitude of that signal coming into your processing unit, that is this handheld unit, while keeping the volume down, because otherwise you will get deaf very quickly. So there is independent control for gain and volume. Then there is a bandpass filter. So the bandpass filter allows you to reduce the sound that you listen to. You only want to listen to that specific beacon if you're locating a pipe, of course. The receiver, already said, is quite big. It's ceramic. It's quite chunky, and it's around this big. I call it the elephant foot. I think it's a standard term anyway in radio detection. There is a telescopic handle that comes with it, so it just twists and you can make it the length you want. I am quite a tall person, and I'm quite comfortable in using it. So I lost my mouse, and here is my mouse back. Here is that water being pumped out. Starting going, you can barely see it, but the water is coming out. What it's going to do now? It's going to do what you would do with a standard radio detection locator. So you would sweep around in a circular way just to find where your pipe cross your path. And you would do this with the standard EM locator. You would connect to a cable going into a property, or you would connect to a gas pipe or a metallic water pipe, put your traditional RX, turn it on, and then you would do a sweep around just to identify where the pipe comes out. So once you find the pipe, then at that point, you just listen to the sound, make your adjustment, change your gain, change your volume so that it doesn't kill your ears. And above anything else, you set your bandpass filter. Now I have to tell you this. So this is the spectrum analysis you see here. So the instrument gives you two modes of operation. I'm talking about the spectrum analysis because it's the one that is real time, is quite obvious to see. And unfortunately, I don't have a good picture. That's the only picture I had at my disposal. I will have to get a better picture. But essentially, the idea is that you can see the beacon, the pulsating pressure change or column changing into the pipe, and you can see at a certain frequency this bit that is essentially in tune with your solenoid, with your valve opening and closing, and you can filter the noise that is below it or above it. Now, why is it important? Is because in real life, as he was telling me, in real life, the situation is never perfect, right? And as he was telling me this, a truck just stopped next to us. So with the old 500, it would have had to stop and wait for that noise source to go away. As we were doing this test, we just narrowed down the filter. It couldn't listen because the truck was very loud, but the vibration and the noise we picked up from underground was displayed on the screen quite clearly. So we could still track the utility or the pipe, even if there was a very loud, strong noise next to us. So that was his first bit of information that really came to me. The other one he gave me, we were discussing the comparison between the old 500 and this one here. So the 500, which was that handheld unit with the little needle on top, that was good when the pipe was quite shallow, which normally with water is. However, occasionally the pipe goes below 1 meter, and he was saying, well, it becomes very, very difficult to track with the 500. With this instrument here, the sensitivity that he has, there is really not a problem in detecting the pipe going down. Another thing I have to say, I spent the day with him. So we went through some residential housing, and we could hear the water traveling through the pipe without the transmitter. It's so sensitive. So all we had to do is to ask one of the ladies that we were working at the property, at their property. So we asked one of the ladies to open the tap, and we could just follow the pipe in that way. So it is a very, very sensitive instrument. So there is another mode of operation. So I'm going to move to the next slide. They have what they call locating. So once you have identified where, once you know that there is a pipe in that area, and you are trying to find the exact position of that pipe, you can use this locating mode. So let's assume the pipe is here. And don't forget, you're listening to the peak response. So you're looking for the highest sound coming towards you. So let's assume you start working from here, you're moving left to right, and your pipe is underground is here. So you're looking for a peak response, and the peak response will just be above it. So what you can do if you don't want to use the spectrum analyzer, you can set up everything so that your gain, your bandpass filter is set correctly, and then you move into the locating mode, where you can take a number of points You leave so you move your ground microphone to a position, you leave it, and then you will see that after a few seconds, it will take an average of the sound that is picking up. And you will move left to right, and of course, the position of the pipe is under the highest peak. You can take a picture, a snapshot of this image, and you can export it, and then you can retrieve it at a later date. So those are essentially the two screens that you can use in the unit. And you can use it with the pulse water transmitter, as I've shown you in the previous video, to detect and trace, to detect the position on the pipe and then trace it. So I'm going to stop for a second because I gave you quite a lot of information, and see if there are any questions about this part of the presentation. So I'm just going to have a look.
We do have one, Alberto. The question is, how safe or loud is it to use on pipes within a house?
You shouldn't be using it on pipes on the house, really. By all means, use it without the transmitter, but the transmitter shouldn't be used in the house. I know that people use it, but it is dangerous for the pipe, just because you're adding this change of pressure, and you never know, you may cause damage. If you have a weak joint somewhere in your within your house, you may create an issue. It is quite safe if you have an external water pipe. We recommend that you don't use it for periods longer than 30 minutes. Now, I also told you that you can use it without the water, without the pulse water transmitter. If you have some water flowing, you should be able to use it inside the house as well. Yes, you would. The next question. Sorry, why would we hook up to a hose bib? So you mean to the external pipe? My understanding is the external pipe is safe to use if it's within 5 meters of the property. And back to the user I just shown you earlier. He told me that in 20 years, he only saw a pipe damage in a house in 2 occasions. If you hook to hose bib, I'm not sure what a hose bib is. Sorry, I have to add this. So let me go back. In this picture here, we have this part here that is called the hose damper, which is supposed to take away some of the pressure. So if you are using it within to an external tap, then you should use the hose damper that should reduce the pressure traveling back into to a more moderate level. Yeah, so the water tap outside the house. That is again, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that the house damper will reduce the pressure going in. Can we increase the range? And let's say the access point are further in the range. What can I do? Well, ultimately, you need to have access with this system. You need to have access to the water pipe. So whether it's a fire hydrant, the meter that I've been told that the best solution is go to the meter of the property. So you're isolating the property and you go back in that way, going towards the mains. On the mains, I really don't know what. I think this is more a question for a water company, how you access the mains. My understanding, if you attach it to a fire hydrant, which are quite common in the States, that will travel at least on the on the mains. I believe that they're all connected to a mains. I'm not 100% sure. Apart from that, I really don't have an answer for that. I can find out and come back to you. But if such water line running across the road, if there is water flow, then you should be able to detect it. From the meter, the property line into the house. However, the only connection point is inside a water tap. Okay, so I go back. My understanding is that using it with the water hose, assuming that there is 4 or 5 meters distance with the main piping, so with your house pipe, it is safe to use. You should use it on an external tap with the damper, and that's the way we have tested it in radio detection. I wouldn't attach it inside the house. Especially I wouldn't attach them without a damper. I did say at the beginning, this also doubles up as a water leak detector. Essentially is an acoustic detector, right? So everything I described you so far is essentially the unit picking up the sound coming from underground. So if you have a water leak, the water leak will produce what I can only describe as a hissing sound, which normally is at high frequency, higher than 200 hertz range. And the frequency and the intensity will vary depending on the pressure inside the pipe material, and the break sides where the leakage is happening from. So I cannot be more precise than this. It will vary depending on those 3 parameters. Then you add the ground condition around. But again, this instrument is so sensitive that works perfectly in detecting water leaks. Can you use this inside the house? Yes, you can, to detect a water leak. The principle is the same. You still use the bandpass filter. You still have independent control for the gain, and the volume is exactly like before, and the principle is the same. In this case, you have already located the pipe, so you're following so you have already traced the pipe, so you now know where the pipe is, and you just walk along the pipe looking for the hissing sound. So like before, you need to have water inside the pipe to detect the problem. Should you stop the water from flowing? Absolutely not. Otherwise, you won't have the water escaping, and this is what you need to get to listen to the sound. But it works exactly in the same way. So you're looking for a peak response, and that is where your leakage is. Any question on this? This is not dissimilar for other products. But if you're familiar with the 500, let me give you again a quick overview of how this compares with the old products. So the old products was analog in nature. So the interface you had was this needle here on the top, and you had an on-off button, an on-off rotary switch, which also allow you to increase or decrease the sensitivity. There was no independent control for the volume on that instrument. And then you had to replace the batteries when they discharged. In this case, you now have, as I said, a modern-looking instruments with a high-definition screen, very easy to use interface. Essentially, what you have there is all the interfaces you have. You can have a choice of texture of the soil, so it could be an hard surface of a soft surface, and then you have a choice of material of the pipe, whether it's plastic or whether it's metal or unknown, because it could be something else or either of the two. And then you have access to either the spectrum analysis, that is essentially a graphical representation of the different frequencies you are picking up, or the locating mode, at least those points you saw before. You have the telescopic handle. I want to spend a word about this. Is quite significant because you should leave it when taking the measurements, otherwise you will listen to the vibration of your arm holding it. With the old instrument, you wouldn't be able to do that. Can it be charged? It can be charged with most USB chargers. We are not supplying a USB charger, by the way, because we took the view it was easier that way for certifications point of view and for safety. But it's just a standard USB Type-C. So if you have a mobile telephone, you will be able to charge it, or your customer will be able to charge it using that charger. The cable is in the box. And again, I go back to the fact you have independent gain from the volume, which is quite significant, because otherwise you really I had big problems in just the amount of noise was coming into my ears using the headphones. And it can store and sound and images. So it's a significantly better product, and is before used just to be one instrument. So a pipe locator now is also a water leak detector, which is so sensitive that you can use it in quite a lot of different environments and applications. You don't need necessarily the pulse water transmitter running just to trace a water pipe with water flowing in. Back to the kit we used to sell, it used to have what we call mechanical transoms. They worked in the same way. So they opened and closed, but they were mechanical. So you had to have pressure, and then you had to set up some water flow to allow the valve to open and close quite regularly. So again, talking to that guy, 20 years in the field experience, he was saying that he really hated them because of the nature of the setting up. So it takes quite a while to get the settings going properly. And then he said, you set it up, and then next door opens it up, the water pressure changes in the water pipe. He said, I had to start everything from scratch. He prefers the electronic valves because they are driven by the electronic pulse that comes from the transmitter, and that makes it more easily. Can it locate 2 meters deep pipe? Yes, it can. Again, I have to put always my hands like this, saying it depends on your ground condition and everything else. My experience is 5 meters is perfectly doable. Again, if the pipe is very deep, you don't have a big, if you don't have much pressure variation at that point, you might be struggling. If your ground condition is hard, if you have cement on top of it, the sound also becomes a bit more uncomfortable because it may travel in different. The entire cement may vibrate and you may be difficult to locate. So it depends on the conditions. That's my answer. But 5 meters is what we claim.